There we are. All right, welcome back, everybody, to our Small Business Spotlight live stream. Today, with my guest is Mr. Chris Breaux. Chris, say hi.
Hi. We're done now, right? That's it.
That's it. That's it. Welcome,
Oh,
Chris.
okay. Well,
Chris. That's it. Thanks for having us. Thanks for coming
this is
on the
the
show.
greatest interview ever. The questions that you asked were so probing and deep. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
They were
Thanks
so
for
deep that they didn't exist. That's how I roll. No, Chris works for Lately, and I'm not going to try because I don't remember what your title is, and he's a great connector. That's why I call him, because he's the man with all the connections. Makes things happen, and he's the guy I call when things break or things don't work, which doesn't happen that often, honestly. But it's whenever I need to make a connection, Chris is the guy I call. But Chris, thanks for coming on the show today. I appreciate it, dude. Love to hear more about Lately, and we talked to Kate a couple streams ago, I think. But I'd love to hear your perspective on things and kind of just talk a little more about Lately, and then your story, which I think is really cool because you have an awesome, interesting background as well. So tell us more about Lately and about how you got involved with them, man.
Sure. I'll give you a quick little background on Kate. Like you said, she was already on. I realized that, but her backstory um, is very telling because it's helpful to other people out there to know the struggle is real, if that makes sense. So she went to school at Skidmore and was an English major, and everyone laughed at her. They're like, "What are you going to do with an English major? You're going to write?" And they were all kind of like ripping on her. So what's great about it is she was a short order cook and then got into radio, and she was a DJ and worked her way all the way up to Sirius XM, talking to 21 million people across the United States and the world. And then it was kind of a boys club, still kind of is a boys club. And so she was getting upset at, the lack of like, hey, I got this great idea and then it got stolen, or she didn't get the credit. And her body actually broke down and rebelled and said, you can't live this way. She can't actually even type right now. She has to use a spoken word like a dragon, I think it is.
Yep.
But anyway, her body basically was telling her, stop. You can't do this. And that's a good cue sometimes. We got to listen to our bodies. And so she was trying to find her way around, and she thought back, well, hey, I'm a writer. I'm an English major. Marketers, they write, they do things like that. So she started a marketing company, ended up getting hired by Walmart. And so she did the nonprofit side for about 4 years and started making 130% ROI. Money people started coming around going, how do you do that? And she's like, look at these great spreadsheets. And she's got, how to write and how to do what she does. And this one guy goes, how about we get rid of your spreadsheets and we use AI? And she's like, don't you touch my spreadsheets. And then she met with the AI guy because the money guy said, hey, if you like the AI guy, I like the way that you present yourself, the way that you've done what you've done. I'd like to give you some money to jumpstart a company. And she's like, whoa, wait, you're going to give me money? Sure, I'll go see this AI guy, but there's no way you're going to touch my spreadsheets. Meets the AI guy. It turns into Lately, and she goes, take my spreadsheets. I don't need those spreadsheets anymore. And so you can kind of see how it's an amazing journey, and everyone has a different way to get to where they are. And her journey just blows me away that she went from being laughed at with being graduated from an English degree at Skidmore to creating a game-changing social media marketing writing platform that gets you 80% of the way, that makes your life so much easier, all based off AI. And, if you would have asked anyone at Skidmore, is Kate Bradley Chernus going to create an AI generated social media writing platform? They would be like, what's AI and what's social media? And,
Right.
you just gotta say yes to the right I also want to throw in, I forgot, right before she started the marketing company, I do got to give her husband an attaboy, because this is key. Partners, right?
Hmm.
You got to have the right people around you, especially when it comes to your spouse. If you've got a wife or a husband that's behind you, man, you're 10 times ahead of the game. If you've got a
Absolutely.
husband or a wife that is not on your side, or really kind of against you, or downplays any of your victories, then you've got an uphill battle. And so her husband, I got to give him an attaboy. Plus, he was a guitarist, and I'm a music guy. And so, man, you throw guitarist in there. He wanted to help her when she was struggling. And so he gave her a book, a guy, Kawasaki.
Hmm.
I've never read it. But in one of the first chapters was stop thinking and just go. And
Hmm.
she's like, well, why do I need to read the rest of this book? You just told me what I need to do. I need to start. And that's when she started her marketing company. And she's like, oh, okay. And, the husband's like, hey, that book that I just gave you, you're done with it? And she's like, no, it just said, stop reading and just do it. And he's like, I'm not going to read the rest. And so, good job, spouse. Good job,
Oh, thank you.
husband. And I do want to give him a little attaboy uh, about that.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think you hit a couple things there, man. One is, you can't never judge other people. One thing,
Mhm.
right? Like, so you don't, don't judge other people from your point of view. What you
Mhm.
do is your business. What you want to do with your life is your business. What other people want to do with their lives is their business, right? And what it's right for them,
Yeah.
in that moment, where we all have our own path and things that are going to go the way we want it to go. And maybe they're not ready to see what they need to see right now, right? But when they're ready to see it, like she's ready to get that book, that was a time when she was supposed to see that and make that happen at that point in time, right? Maybe if
Oh,
she got
dude,
the
I
money
love that
earlier.
you said that. Reading books at the right time, they come into your life at the right time. They definitely do, and people do too, I
Yeah.
think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%, dude. I mean, like
Oh,
people,
love that you just said that.
you get the right message at the right time, right? Whether
Mhm.
it's a person, whether it's by a book, whether it's by a video or a podcast, or something like that. Like you get the right message at the right time for you to make the choices that you need to make to make things happen, right? And for you to make things happen in your life. And you may not be ready. Like, if she gotten that book back in college, she probably wouldn't have known what to do with it,
Yeah.
you know? So
Stop reading and just do it. What am I
what
supposed to do? What am I supposed to do now? What is this?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, man, that's one thing that I love that you highlighted, and I wanted to highlight that. But the other thing that you said, which is awesome, and you highlight this a little more, but which is that thing about the partner, right? Having
Mhm.
that romantic partners. I think they you hear a lot of guys say like I behind every or people say a lot of behind every successful man is a
Yep.
strong wife or strong woman, right? Which is true. That's case on both sides, right? If you don't
Mhm.
have a partner who's supporting you, who's able to be there for you and able to like really just celebrate your victories with you. Not you don't have to necessarily have them do anything for you. Just be there to celebrate your victories with you, right? And so
100%. Nailed
it's
it,
so
man.
powerful,
Yep.
so powerful. But yeah, man, tell us more about your story. So because like I said, you have a really cool. You mentioned you're a musician, which I think alludes to some of it, but I think you got a really cool story too. And I think
Oh,
folks need to
oh, oh, wait. God awful guitarist. Barely, like, I'm like, what is the, oh, don't even get me. I am an appreciator. I do, like, it's weird. I can't play an instrument. I can't sing. I might be tone deaf. It's just, there's everything against me. Um, Actually, funny story. I joined the 8th grade choir, um, because I was in love with the soloist. And so she was a super cute girl. And I'm like, oh, how can I get in there? So I tried out for the choir. And I swear, the choir master, whatever, orchestrator person that does, literally just like way like, Chris, just get away from the microphones. Just, this is bad. But the things we do for love in 8th grade. Uh, Not a musician, but an admirer. Live music is good for your soul. I host a new music show that's actually on the radio. Drew, the radio is this technology that people used to listen to.
Hey, I was
Occasionally, they
around for
still do
radio.
in the okay, all
I was
right.
alive for that part of things.
And it's
Chilling,
a
chilling.
Spotify playlist. I can't play, I can't sing, I can't do that, but I hear a song and I'm like, bloody hell, that's a good song. And so
Mhm.
that is what I can get out of that. Um, let's see. My backstory. I don't know. Where do you want me to start? It was a rainy day in Chicago, and
I'd start with that. Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah.
well, actually, you know what? I am actually going to start in the beginning because we were talking about journeys and how you get where you are, and sometimes it does just come down to I don't want to say it's luck, but and Drew, you brought this up before. You were saying people come into your lives at the right time. And my parents came into my life at the right time, literally when I was born, because I was up for adoption and they took me home from the hospital. So starting there is humongous because I probably wouldn't be here and I definitely wouldn't be living in Westchester, New York. I guarantee that if my parents didn't raise me the way that they did and did that, because I can only imagine, uh, why I was put up for adoption. There's probably a good reason, and so yeah, we're gonna start there, and then from there, this has a little something to do with something. Um, we're gonna skip ahead to college, and so in college, I was studying to be an elementary school teacher, and I actually graduated and taught for about 5 or 6 years. But
Mhm.
when I was in there, I went to a school in Green Bay, Wisconsin, just south of Green Bay, Wisconsin, called St. Norbert. And so there were nuns and priests that on occasion were professors. There was a nun in one of my courses, and we had to record something into a tape, like if a kid was absent so that they could listen to me read the story. So if they missed it, they could catch up really quickly. I read into this tape and this nun handed back and she goes, "You need to be on the radio." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, sure, whatever. Uh, I'm going to graduate." And so when I decided not to teach, I was trying to figure stuff out. And I was working at Barnes and Noble because I love to read. So I'm like, I'll just get close to books. And I'm driving into work one day and I hear one of those like, "Hey, you want to be on the radio? Come to Connecticut Broadcasting. We'll get you into radio and whatnot." And I thought, whoa, that nun who's probably closer to people, that are around than I am, she knows things. She said I should be in radio. So I called them up, got accepted, and got a job in radio, which led me to finding Kate. Kate
Mhm.
found me through radio because she was doing a music show and she's like, "Hey, you're a new music guy. You want to work for me?" And this was maybe about 11 years ago.
Mhm.
And so we did a brief little app where Drew, you say, "Oh, I love Led Zeppelin." And then in the app, you get introduced to me. Like Kate goes, "Oh, Chris is a music genius. Drew, you like Led Zeppelin. Chris is going to give you 3 or 5 songs or bands that sound like Led Zeppelin that you're probably going to like." So that's what we did for a little bit. Sadly,
Nice.
that failed. And I didn't talk to Kate for years after that. Um, During that time, I was a stay-at-home dad,
Mhm.
and so um, I was still doing the new music radio show once a week. Kind of had my toe dipped in the waters, and my kids were growing up. They were getting to the age where I didn't need to drive them around. I didn't need to change diapers. They could feed themselves. They could ride their bikes, and so I kind of saw the writing on the wall that dad is less and less important. So, what is a person to do? Uh, a smartass like me puts out a tweet that says, "Hey, who wants to hire a stay-at-home dad that has a 15-year gap in his resume? Like hashtag quick, grab me while you can," or whatever I did. I swear, Kate calls me up and I'm like, Kate Bradley Turnus. I haven't talked to her in ages. What's going on? And,
Yeah.
of course I click and I'm like, hey, and she answers and she's very colorful. And I won't tell you the exact quote, but she says, hey, you're working for me. She read my tweet and and so that's how I got the interview. And I'm like, what do you mean work for you? What do I need to do? And she's like, sales. I was like, dude, I can't, I haven't done sales in, 20, 25 years. I wouldn't even know where to begin. She's like, listen, you got a decent voice. You're a good guy. You're smart. We'll figure it out. It'll be fine.
Mhm.
And which is interesting because I'm not a sales guy, and yet I do quite well for lately. And I think one of the reasons why is because when people bring up sales, they think of the swarmy, like, oh, I'm going to trick you into spending your money. And that's what I really love about what Kate does at lately and the way she got me into sales. And she's like, your job is to one, get to know, but also get to a place where when I meet someone and if they're not going to do the work, or if they just think they can press one button and let the AI do everything, just don't take their money. Just, it's got to be a two-way street.
Yeah.
And so I love, what she's helped me accomplish with that. And so it's been really great. And the rest of the team too. Lauren, when I got brought on, was just absolutely brilliant. Like, I'd watch her do a demo and I'm like, oh my God, can I be that good? Is that possible? Yeah. And so that's how I got into lately, which was it also, like you said, people come into your like who knew that 11 years before I got hired by Lately that would be the reason that I got the job here? Because my wife at the time was like, why are you doing this app that doesn't pay any money? And, like I'm like, I already find all the music anyway. And
Yeah.
plus, if this thing takes off, then I can keep doing music. And she's like, oh, all right. And then when it failed, she's like, duh, 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 what did I say? And, and I'm like, oh, okay. But now it brought me here, who would have known that would have happened. So it's crazy.
And that takes it right into the concept, right? The power, the human connection in business, right? Like that's and I think that's why when we talked about what you want to talk about today, that topic comes up really strong because it really is about human connection. Like no matter what, like it can be
Mhm.
about numbers, it can be about dashboards, analytics, all this stuff, right? There's all these numbers in business, absolutely, right? But
Mhm.
ultimately, it comes down to people, right? All business comes down to people. Even the stock market. If ever look at the GameStop thing, right? If people think that stock market is all numbers. Look at the GameStop thing. Those are people that affected that change in the market, right? It wasn't the stock market by itself overcorrecting or whatever. It was people that did that. And so at the end of the day, it's not about numbers. It's about people. And I think that's for me personally, speaking from personal experience with you. The reason I got lately is because you one, it's an awesome tool, but two, because of the way you presented it, right? The way you talked to me about it, and you as a person, you didn't sell me on it, right? You just
Mhm.
showed me how it worked, and you were answering questions. You were really open about it, and that connection, that human connection, was one of the things that kept me there where they're at. You and I talked about another tool by email yesterday,
Mhm.
and I was talking with a friend of mine about that. I'm like, this is a lot cheaper, and she was like, well, why don't you switch to that? I'm like, honestly, because I like the people at Lately better. Like I'm like, like I need something I can
Oh,
I can
thanks,
email.
man.
I can email Chris. I know I got Chris. I know I got Kate. I can ping you. I can ping Lauren on
Yeah.
Slack or whatever.
Mhm.
And I know that things are going to happen. I know things are gonna get done.
Mhm.
And it's one of those things where like that goes a long way. This T-shirt that I have on right now, right? I don't know if you guys can see it. It says "Run the State," right?
Yeah.
It's from a company that I just found on Instagram called APAC Apparel, right? And they just started recently. And first of all, it's a really comfortable, really cool shirt. They're not paying me, but
That always helps. That always helps.
yeah, but when I got the package, right, like there was a note personalized to me because we had talked on Instagram, and he's like, "Hey, Drew, thanks for ordering this thing, blah blah blah." Like
Mhm.
it was really like personalized to what we talked about and everything like that, and that goes a long way because in terms of like what that personal aspect of business goes, like that's something you don't see often. I think that's why people get so pissed off with like AT&T and companies like that where they keep you on hold. You're always talking to a machine for God knows how long, you know?
I love that. Yeah, it's give more than you get. It's be more kind. Um, it's embracing the suck because, like you said, it's not always going to be good.
Yeah.
Things are, right before we went live, you and I just talked about a lot of suck. And so
Yeah.
things happen all the time, and you got to have those people in your corner that can do it. And it's even crazy to think that it could be a business connection. And there's nothing wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? Because it's all about enjoying everything and giving more than you get. And, that whole, I just love the phrase, be more kind.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that is the whole goal. And you alluded to this before, and I'll bring it up one more time. You never know what is going on with someone. They could have just got devastating news or the best news in the world. And
Mhm.
so many people run on emotion and don't take a step back and think, not just how do I want to be treated, you know, that whole golden rule, treat someone the way you want to be treated. But even going beyond that, I think someone came up with the platinum rule, which is, just treat everyone as nice as humanly possible. There's already enough garbage out there. Don't be another person that throws more garbage on top of it. And so if you have a chance to, you know, give, and it doesn't have to be a lot, it could just be a smile. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes honestly, that's more than enough. Or even just a, hey, how you doing? Just a quick wave. I mean, that could be like the difference. And so yeah, I just wanted to use that as that jumping off point for that, which actually
Yeah.
makes me think of a story. Do you know the story between the what is it? The carrot, the egg, and the coffee beans?
I think so. But to tell, I think, yeah, I think I know the story, but go ahead, tell it.
Yeah, it's a great story. It's a
Yeah.
long walk. I'll try to make it quick, but it does bring into the point where we're hoping that you and me, anyone that listens, and everyone else that's out there, can be one of these, because we all are either the carrot, the egg, or the coffee beans. And so the story starts many different ways, but let's just say a girl was graduating from college and worried about the world, and
Mhm.
she talks to her mom, and the mom hears like, "Oh, what about a job and money and paying rent and all this? And what if I, go to an interview, and what if I get fired, and what if I don't get a job?" And she starts going on and on and on, and the mom, in all her wisdom, doesn't say anything and says, "Come into the kitchen," and puts 3 pots of water, starts boiling them, takes a carrot, puts it in, takes an egg, puts it in, takes the coffee beans, puts it in the third pot. And after 20 minutes, it gets done boiling and pulls out the carrot, the egg, and the coffee beans. Well, pours out the coffee. And so, of course, the daughter's like, "Mom, what the hell are you doing? Like, what is this?" And she
Yeah.
goes, "Hey, in life, you can be like the carrot, like the egg, or like the coffee bean. You can be like the carrot. You go out there and you're hard and you're tough and nothing's going to penetrate you. And then you get in this boiling situation of bad things happening here and there. And, life gets in the way. And then all of a sudden you're soft and mushy because you just get broken and you just can't take it anymore. And you turn into a soft, mushy thing of carrots. Or you could turn in, or you could be the egg. The egg, you're, protecting the inside. And so you got this hard shell that's constantly protecting the soft innards of you. And then you get out in the real world and you go through the garbage, you go through the suck, you go through and you try to enjoy it all, but it changes what's inside and it makes you a little bit harder than the way it was before. And your hard exterior shell didn't protect the inside, and it turned you into something else. Or you can be like the coffee beans that goes from the coffee beans, takes the water, and literally changes it to something else where the
Mm.
coffee or the water is better than it is, and the coffee beans aren't the same. And you have changed, you've grown, you've pivoted, you've taken those hard things and turned it into the aroma and the great thing that's the coffee. And so you get a chance to be, and everyone is either a carrot, an egg, or a coffee bean. And I'm hoping everyone's a coffee bean that's listening or watching this, because that's the better thing to be, which is interchangeable and being able to grow and pivot and adjust.
That's awesome. And I
Yeah.
remember that story, and I love it.
Yeah.
I think the important thing too is like you can choose, right?
Yes.
You choose which one of those three you want to be. Like
Exactly.
you're not just inherently an egg, or a carrot, or a coffee bean. You choose if you want to be that, like that hard shell thing, whatever, that ends up changing the whole thing, and
Yeah.
whatever, or you want to be that carrot that melts and ends up becoming
Hmm.
mush, or you
Hmm.
want to be the coffee bean and change the world, right? You can decide how you want to make that happen, or how you want to make, and you decide for yourself what effect you want to have on the world,
So
and I
true.
think that's awesome. That's really powerful, and that's a great story to share.
Yeah.
And you know in terms of human dynamics and human connections, I always get fascinated by time travel stories, right?
Uh-huh.
Because you change one little thing and
Oh,
everything changes, right?
yeah.
It's like just,
Oh, that you're right. That is amazing. Yeah,
but
you're right.
that's like life. Like if you like to your point about saying hi or smiling at that one thing. There's one quote, like, be the reason someone smiles today, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Like there's a couple stories about this, but one of them, like this kid is graduating high school, and he's like the valedictorian, right? And he goes up to make a speech, and his best friend's in the audience, and like he's graduating with him, and he tells a story of like the day he met his best friend, which like I guess 3 years ago or whatever, and that he was going home, and he dropped his books. His best friend picked up his books for him and like
Mhm,
helped him pick up his books,
mhm.
and they never met before. This kid was just, they were strangers. They became best friends. But apparently in that speech, he told a story that he was going to go home and kill himself that day because he hated his life so badly, and that was
Yeah.
the reason he didn't do it. That one thing, his friend who became his friend, he was a stranger, right?
Yeah.
And that was the reason he didn't do that. And like, so you just change that one thing, and it changed someone's life forever. And then everyone they touch now, everyone they touch, and everyone that they touch, you can do that in a positive way by like screwing someone over. I'm sorry, not screwing someone over, like
Yeah.
making them smile, or you can do
Yep.
it the negative way by hating someone, by being upset and being like, malicious about people, and like trying to get back at somebody. Like it's just, you have the choice, right?
Yep. Yeah, and that brings up another fact that I'm going to piggyback off of you. It's not a zero-sum game, and you have to realize that uh, because Joe is making money, Jack doesn't make money? No. Everyone can be part of this. It's just because one person gets it doesn't mean there's not other experiences and money and things out there for there. And it doesn't have to be that zero sum game that is that you so eloquently put. I mean, that's great. And yeah, it is. It's sometimes the simplest thing. Uh, the dude picked up some books. I mean, that's mind blowing. And yet it's those butterfly wings, man,
Yeah,
that turn
exactly.
into a hurricane. It's fantastic. Um, before we go any further, and I don't know how much more time we have, I do want to make sure that everyone realizes that no one knows anything, and we're all trying to figure this out on the fly. It
Yes.
doesn't matter if you're Elon Musk and you're like, oh, he's got it all figured out. He is just treading water and trying to not drown, just like everyone else. Jeff Bezos, oh, he's a billionaire. He figured everything out. He is trying to figure stuff out all the time. And so the goal is to be that lifelong learner. And we
Mhm.
already talked about growing and pivoting and learning. And that's the key. Find a piece of information. Will it work for you? I don't know. It might. But just realize that everyone has to embrace the suck. Everybody is winging it, really. And so I want to definitely make sure that people know that, and especially me. God knows I am winging everything all the time, and I'm 51, and I still learn stuff every single day, and I love it. I just think it's absolutely fantastic. And there's there's a lot of ways of doing it, and the best way is engaging and conversation.
Yeah, 100%, dude.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I love that you said that. And 100%. I mean, everyone's figuring this whole life thing out on our
Yeah.
like ourselves. We're all trying to figure it out. It doesn't matter. I love that. It doesn't matter if you're Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, or some kid in high school. You're still figuring. There's different stages of figuring it out.
Hmm.
You know, it's like an endless Rubik's cube. You're never going to figure it out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're never going to actually get it. Like the Rubik's cube is actually solvable. This is not life is not solvable. It's not something.
Yep.
It's not a problem to be solved. It's just something to live and experience, and you do more and more. And because
Yep.
like set any goal for yourself, right? Then what? You achieve it. Then what? There's another goal, and there's another one. And there's another
Yeah,
one.
it doesn't stop.
Yeah. There's
Like
no such thing as arriving in success. Success is a moving target.
Yep.
Did you see that thing Matthew McConaughey posted, or not posted? He said he made a speech,
Mhm.
and he was talking about himself. I think I mentioned this before in another stream, but I'll mention it again because it's worth it. Matthew McConaughey, he was accepting some award, and he mentioned when he was 15, one of his mentors asked him, he's like who's your ideal, your idol, or person that you want to be, right? Who do you want to be? He's like, give me some time, let me figure it out. And he came back and said, he's like, you know what? I want to be me in 10 years. That's my role model, right? And so 10 years later, the guy asked him, he's like, all right, so who's your role model now? He's like, me in 10 years again.
Yeah.
And every time he asked him, he's like, yeah, it's me in 10 years. He's like, my role model is going to be me in 10 years and it's going to keep moving. I'm never going to achieve that. And that's okay because I want to keep growing, keep building. And to your point, that's exactly what it is. And it's about whether you're in business, whether you're working for somebody else, doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing. We're all figuring this thing out ourselves for what makes sense for us. And I think that's really powerful for you to point that out. So thanks for saying that.
No, I love that. And no matter how you feel about him as a person, actor, activist, whatever it happens to be, I love that, because it's basically, you got to be a shark because you got to keep moving. The sharks, they stop moving, they die. And that's, to your point, you achieve a goal. You can't just sit there. Like you can't, or you shouldn't. You got to keep moving. But I love that. And I had not heard that one. There's been a couple things about Mr. Matthew that I've been reading articles and quotes about. I'd not heard that one, and I love it. That one's great. And what I also love about that too is it's all based on him growing, not an external, like, oh, I need to be that guy. And
Yes.
once I'm that guy, then I'm going to be awesome. And I love that he did that, because we're all us. As much as I love you, Drew, I can't be you. And, I mean, it can't happen.
Yeah.
And my God, that is a brilliant answer. Wow. I like that.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm stealing it.
It's all yours. It's
No, I'll give them credit, because I'm a big fan of giving other people credit, because I hate when people don't give me credit. And so being a person that's not allowed to lie, I actually give out credit probably too much, but that's okay.
Hey, it's better to share credit and let everyone know that the greatness is something that comes from connection, right? It's you stand on the shoulders of giants. Even if people who've succeeded, Bezos, for example, right? Everything he did, he couldn't have done without the people who underneath him, who helped him build. He didn't build it by himself, He definitely didn't build it by himself. Neither did Musk. Neither did any of these guys. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. They all built these amazing empires, but they built them with other people, right? And so it's super, especially in business and like in life in general. Like going back to the full circle, I guess, to people coming into your life when they need to, when they're supposed to, when you need them in your life. You have people come in your life that will help you build something amazing. Or if you choose to, that you can ignore them or get the wrong people in your life and then bring those people in. So you have to learn a lesson, right?
Yeah, the hard way.
Yeah, the hard way. I mean, I made a mistake. My first company I started, it wasn't. Then they weren't bad people. It just wasn't a good fit, right? but I
Yeah.
picked them because they're my friends, and I was like, oh, I have a company with my friends, it'd be awesome. It's the
Uh-huh.
wrong reason to pick to start a company with people,
Yeah.
because we had different goals, right?
Sure.
And ultimately, we separated, we split things up. Thankfully, knock on wood, that was like a it wasn't a there was not a lot of financial stuff involved there, so we didn't have to worry about it. And it was a very clean process,
Yep.
but that could have been really bad,
Oh
if
yeah. Yeah.
and it was a good lesson to learn, and a small snake lesson to learn. And
I hear you, man.
so, but before we go, I want to ask you this question. So for you, if you get to, and this is kind of putting you on a spot a little bit, but what, in terms of human connection, what are some folks, maybe the three people in your life that you think affected your life the most in terms of your success and when you where you are right now, and the quality of life you live right now?
Oh, wow. All right. I mean, I already alluded to Kate helping me and teaching me and just saying, hey, you can do this thing that you've never done before, and I have faith in you. That is quite powerful. And on top of that, kicking my ass all along the way, just being like, okay, what you should have said here is A, B, C, or D. Definitely not what you said. And so it's, and I think she also knew it's, I am someone that can get their ass kicked. Also, as a former athlete, I love being able to go, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to show you. Oh, it's like that Michael Jordan thing. Oh, you're going to cut me from your team? I'm
Yeah.
going to show you. You don't cut Michael Jordan from your team. And so, being an athlete, that I think helps with my whole there is no no, or there is a no, or whatever it happens to be. And, uh, again, being that lifelong learner that I'd like to be. And so it makes me really happy that I learned, like something new. So Kate, definitely. Um, I have a lot of Kates in my life. My wife is Kate. And without her, honestly, I would be, I don't know, living in a trailer somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, trying to still do like late night radio at some gig, eating frozen pizzas. And, uh, I don't know, but she is, and I love um, watching her, because she is so incredibly kind, um, such a hard worker, smart as hell, and just what she does and how she combines, like, it's she works for NBC, and so on occasion she gets, not on occasion, but it always, almost always has, um, not really an intern, but someone below her, and the people that she's helped that have gone on and done crazy things, either for NBC or for others. I mean, it all stems from, again, kind, smart, hardworking, and it just totally rubs off. Um, you asked for a third person,
If
man.
you have one, you don't necessarily have to. I mean,
Yeah, I'm just going to go with my two Kates. If I had a third Kate in my life, it would probably be her too. But you know what? I'm actually going to throw, and I know this is dorky as hell, as a dad and a husband, to put the whole um, family in there. I've got two kids, and watching them grow and having discussions with them, they're both in high school now, it's just mind blowing to watch the next generation come up, because what they talk about and what they care about. Oh man, compared to what I was talking and caring about in high school, it is mind blowing to me. But again, I get it. They've grown up with the internet. They barely know what a radio is, like, so all that, but I mean, everything is at their fingertips. And
yeah,
just to watch and just to know that when they find themselves, when they get out in the world and they make that zigzaggy plan to wherever they end up and land, it's going to be powerful. Like, the next generation that's coming up is really, truly amazing. Um, so I'm going to go with my kids too. Wow. and I know none of my family is probably going to watch this, and that, and anyone that watches is probably going to be like, oh, he's just trying to get some brownie points in. But honestly, the two Kates, and I am going to throw my kids' generation in because I really truly and am impressed. I mean, yeah, they still do stupid stuff because they're kids,
Yeah.
and I get that, but man, the level that they're at is just light years ahead of what I was when I was in high school.
That's awesome, man. And I
Yeah.
think, but I think it does say something too, like and I'll close with it. We get running on time and at this point, but that's
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. You picked your kids in as well because they do help you grow. You know, they absolutely
Oh my
contribute to
God.
you being who
Yes.
you are. You know,
Yep.
and to your point about cake kicking your ass, I'm sure your kids kicked your ass too, whether they're meant to or not. You know what I mean? Like, you
I'm
know,
a
so
very kickable ass. So it's I make mistakes, not on purpose. It just happens. And so yeah, I do get my ass kicked. Oh, let's throw one more thing before we say goodbye. Get
yeah,
outside. You got to get outside. You got to, especially now where everyone's doing Zoom calls and things like that. Walk around the block with the dog, climb a mountain, just something outside, even if it's raining, snowing, whatever it happens to be. There is something, again, whether you believe it or not, when you connect with that outside world,
yeah,
not on technology, there's something that happens. So
absolutely.
I'm gonna leave that there. Uh, I hope
Yeah.
that's all right.
No, 100%. I am absolutely an advocate
Yeah.
of that. I mean, I went out to Utah in December. It was amazing, man. I mean,
Yeah.
having the phone off, first of all, because I didn't have service. Like, it wasn't a choice necessarily. I didn't have service. So I turned it off. But having the
Sometimes that's
phone,
the best when there's no choice, right? I
yeah,
love
because
that.
you don't have to check nothing to check Facebook, nothing to check any of this stuff.
Yeah.
It just is, and it's phenomenal. It was a great feeling. It was freeing, and then just like listening to the silence, as depressing as that sounds,
Ah,
it's not depressing at all. It's
nope.
actually awesome because you're listening to nature and the fact
Mhm.
that there's just nothing out there happening. It's just amazing. So,
Yeah.
but to Chris, thanks so much, man. This has been awesome. This is good times. Folks, those who want to reach out to Chris, his information is going to be in the description below. Please like and subscribe. Hit the share button if you like this video. Want think someone needs to hear it. Tune in next week. Actually, tune in tomorrow. We're talking to Johnny Price again. Actually, this time we're talking about him and talking about WeFunder. And Chris, if you want to tune in that when you get a chance, he's a good guy. He's awesome. But yeah, tune in tomorrow. We're talking to Johnny. Next week we'll talk again with Naheed and chat with coaches. And I'll see you guys then. Take care. Thanks again, guys. Take care.